Beginning in 1980, the New York Islanders won 4 straight Stanley Cups. Thus, they entered the 84 playoffs driving for 5 and attempting to equal the 5 straight Stanley Cups of the Montreal Canadiens. The Cup rested at the Montreal Forum from 1956 through 60. Toe Blake presided over the Habs' reign as coach. Jean Beliveau was but one future Hall of Famer who performed for those teams. Another was acrobatic netminder Jacques Plante. In 1984, the Montreal legend became the New York Islanders' target. As if to protect their ancestors' place in history, the modern-day Canadiens wrote the first big story of the 84 playoffs with a shocking first-round upset of the Boston Bruins. Previously unknown goalie Steve Penney burst upon the scene with save after spectacular save, allowing only 2 goals in the 3-game series. Offensively, the Canadiens struck quickly. Mario Tremblay scored at the 16-second mark of Game 2. And he tallied 46 seconds into Game 3. A dream matchup of Quebec rivals was ensured when the Nordiques swept past Buffalo in 3 straight games. Former Sabre J.F. Sauvé scored the winning goal of Game 3. Another first-round sweep was achieved by Washington, the Capitals downing Philadelphia for their first ever playoff series victory. Meanwhile, Islander rookie Pat Flatley ran into Ranger captain Barry Beck to symbolize a dramatic clash in New York. Flatley's crunching check did more than disable Beck. It helped to set up Brent Sutter's winning goal as the Islanders came from behind for a 4-1 victory that saved them from elimination and forced a 5th game. Seldom, if ever, has there been a better or more dramatic contest in an early round playoff series. The Islanders were less than a minute away from a 2-1 triumph when Don Maloney forced overtime with his controversial goal. The Islanders suggested that Maloney's stick was above his shoulders. Referee Dave Newell decided otherwise, and overtime gripped New York. It lasted 8 minutes and 56 seconds and produced some of the most entertaining hockey seen in many years. A patented rush by Bob Bourne of the Islanders lifted the fans out of their seats. But in a game that could have had several other endings, the one that counted came like this.
Here comes Pache over the line to Bossy. Bossy trying to get it back, and the Rangers come out. Can you believe this action in overtime in the 5th game? Maloney in front. Billy Smith. Rob Brook robbed him. I tell you, robbed him. Bossy played it in. That's Tonelli going after it. Into the corner, Patey lost it. Sutter! Picked out by Glenn Hanlon. Shot, score! The Islanders have done it. The Islanders, Morrow, they have won it in overtime. 3-2. It's over. And the march for the Islanders continues in 84.
Meanwhile, in the Campbell Conference, the Edmonton Oilers were sweeping Winnipeg for the 2nd straight year. But they needed overtime in Game 2, and this goal by Randy Gregg. And the 3rd game win wasn't indicated until a goal late in the 2nd period by Dave Semenko that broke a 1-all tie. There was human interest in Calgary's first-round win over Vancouver. In the 4th and deciding game, Paul Reinhart of the Flames scored 3 goals and celebrated more than a hat trick. He was happy just to play after missing 53 league games with a serious back ailment. Jorgen Pettersson was the overtime hero as St. Louis subdued Detroit in 4 games. The Minnesota-Chicago series went 5. Al Secord scored 2 Chicago goals in the first one to hide the memory of an injury-filled season. But Game 5 was decided in Minnesota's favor with the help of George Ferguson's goal. He had only 6 during league play. The Islanders' next test came from Washington in the Patrick Division Final. And the Caps' perseverance was demonstrated by Craig Laughlin as he managed the winning goal with 1:02 to play in the opener. The Islanders' crown was shaky as Game 2 went to overtime. But relief for the champions came in the form of Anders Kaller's winning goal 7 minutes and 35 seconds into the extra period. Islanders never looked back as they won the next 3 games to dispose of Washington. Flatley, so impressive as a rookie, tied Game 5. And later scored the goal that stood as the winner. The Adams Division final between Montreal and Quebec was dubbed La Guerre Civile, the Civil War. An overtime goal by Quebec's Bo Berglund evened the series at 2 games apiece. It would end in 6 in dramatic and sometimes disturbing fashion. Peter Stastny scored the only goal of the first 2 periods, and between the second and third periods, an ugly brawl produced events such as this. Quebec also struck the first blow when hockey resumed. Michel Goulet gave the Nordiques a 2-goal lead, and it looked as though the series would return to Quebec for a 7th game. But the Canadians fashioned a remarkable comeback. Veteran Steve Shutt started it. And continued it after a nifty pass from Mats Naslund. At the 12:14 mark of period 3, Bobby Smith passed to Rick Green. He put Montreal ahead, and goalie Daniel Bouchard wasn't the only one bewildered. John Chabot carried the Habs' lead to 4-2. And the Canadians went on to beat their arch rivals 5-3, to the chagrin of Quebec coach Michel Bergeron. In the Campbell Conference, both division finals produced 7th game excitement. St. Louis threatened to upset Minnesota with a shorthanded goal by Mark Reeds for a 3-2 lead late in the 3rd period. But just 15 seconds later, Willie Plett got this surprising equalizer from outside the Blues' blue line. The overtime tested the nerves of both teams for 6 minutes. Until Minnesota's Steve Payne picked up a loose puck at the boards, swooped to the net, and tucked a backhander behind Mike Liut. Payne and the North Stars celebrated a return trip to the Campbell Conference final after a 2-year absence. Edmonton's route became unexpectedly rocky against Calgary. The Oilers started well with a 5-2 win, thanks to a pair of goals by Wayne Gretzky. But the Flames grabbed Game 2 on an overtime goal by Canadian Olympic graduate Carey Wilson. Earlier in the game, Wilson had counted the first Stanley Cup playoff goal of his short career, and the winner made it a memorable evening for him and a fresh start for the Flames. They took the series to the limit with another overtime goal in Game 6.
Shot knocked down at the line by Jamie McCowan to Quinn or Lanny McDonald. It goes in behind the net. Beer trying to feed it in front. And it is knocked down in front of the goal. A lead pass for Gretzky. He was tied up by Baxter, and McCowan comes back. McCowan working into the corner. Loses it. Now McDonald gets it. He takes the shot.
In the 7th game, the Flames led 4-3 in the 2nd period, but were undone by a stretch of 58 seconds. Glenn Anderson tied the score. And the Oilers then struck for the winner, which nobody really saw, as Ken Linsman created a mess in front of the net and forced the puck over the line. The Edmonton Oilers, wanting another date with the Islanders, had one with Minnesota first. The North Stars and Oilers faced off in the Clarence Campbell Conference Final. Wayne Gretzky collected a first-period goal plus 3 assists to pace Edmonton to a 7-1 opening game victory. Number 99 and Yari Curry made it look easy for the 7th goal. Game 2 was different, though. The North Stars played better and were tied in the 3rd period when Gretzky scored this disputed winning goal. The puck was stopped by Don Beaupre, but in the opinion of referee Bruce Hood, the puck was over the goal line as it was being cradled by the Minnesota netminder. The series switched to Minnesota for Game 3, and the North Stars built a 5-2 second period lead on goals like this by Mark Napier. Minnesota scored 4 times while Edmonton's Dave Lumley was serving a major penalty. Like Napier, Neil Broughton counted twice. But the Oilers staged a mighty third-period rally, outscoring the home side 5-0. Ken Linzman's goal was the winner. And Gretzky completed the comeback. Not on this breakaway, as he was hauled down by Gordie Roberts. But he did connect on the penalty shot opportunity that followed. The fourth game was far from routine as it produced the best hockey of the series, including many excellent saves by Grant Fuhr. Back in action after sitting out the previous contest. The North Stars were blank till the midway mark of the third period. And by then it was too late as the Oilers were 2 goals ahead. Again, Ken Linzman scored the winner. And the Oilers won 3-1 for a 4-game sweep. And Captain Gretzky raised the Clarence Campbell Bowl. The Stanley Cup still remained with the New York Islanders, but again in the Prince of Wales Conference Final against Montreal, their grip on it appeared loose. The Canadiens continued their excellent defensive play and added to a 1-0 lead with this third-period goal by Mats Naslund. And this one by Steve Shutt for a 3-0 win. Shutt's deflection of a Chris Chelios shot from the point was perfectly executed. Game 2 saw Naslund provide another important goal for the Canadiens, this the winner in a 4-2 victory that tested the confidence of Islander coach Al Arbour yet again. But home at the Nassau Coliseum, the champions righted themselves. Thomas Jansson's power play shot from the point put the Isles ahead to stay. Greg Gilbert's goal completed a 5-0 lead halfway through the second period, and a 5-2 win put the Islanders back in the series. Game 4 featured this breakaway by Naslund with the score tied 1-1. Gord Dineen of the Islanders was called for hooking. Arbour's vote didn't count, and Naslund received this penalty shot. Billy Smith made the stop look easy, as perhaps it was, and the Islanders went from there to a 3-1 victory. Here's how the winner was described by Danny Gallivan.
Here come the Islanders in there. Billy Carroll knocked in on the boards right in front of Bossy. There's a shot. Big save by Penny. And the Islanders almost took the lead there. There's the left wing pass, and Shutt is not going to be able to get it. Morrow has it. 3 minutes and 25 seconds left in the second period. Morrow over the line. Shot. Rebound. Down it goes right in front of us. They score!
The Islanders carried their momentum back to Montreal for Game 5. A dandy move by Brent Sutter established an early 2-0 lead in another 3-1 decision. Sutter made Steve Shutt look like the forward he is and beat another Steve, Penny, with an accurate shot. The Islanders closed out the series at home in Game 6 with Bossy scoring twice. In the first period for a 2-0 lead. Then in the third period, after a nifty steal by Greg Gilbert. The final goal of a 5-2 win that put another Prince of Wales trophy into Captain Denny Potvin's hands. And then came the finals, the return match, Edmonton versus the Islanders. The opening game on Long Island featured sensational goaltending by Grant Fuhr of the Oilers and Billy Smith of the Islanders. Smith set the tone 5 minutes into the game when he robbed Yari Curry, who was right on the edge of the crease, with a great chance. Fuhr was making similar stops at the other end. And even when he needed help, he got it from defenseman Charlie Huddy, a so-called second goalie. But rarely was one not enough in this game that appealed to everybody. The first 2 periods were scoreless, but hardly without action. Paul Coffey went from one end to the other, only to be foiled by Smith. And Coffey's counterpart with the Islanders, Denny Potvin, did the same thing with a similar fate because of Grant Fuhr. Then there was the renewal of a year-old confrontation between Smith and Glenn Anderson of the Oilers. In last year's final, Anderson had been given a major penalty for high-sticking Smith, who feigned injury. The referee at the time was Andy Van Helleman, who passed judgment this time as well.
I was on that side, Billy. I thought he just glided.
I tried to take my knee up.
I didn't think he brushed him. He just brushed him.
Anderson didn't receive a penalty. The goaltending battle continued, with Fuhr encountering his busiest spots of the evening. The save on Brian Trottier looked to be his best. Or was it this one that robbed Brett Sutter? The goalless tie was finally broken early in the third period by an unlikely scorer. Edmonton's Kevin McClellan converted the centering pass of Pat Hughes into the game's only goal, and McClellan could only think back a few months when he was with Pittsburgh, as far away from the Stanley Cup Final as could be. The Islanders kept striving for a goal, but if Fuhr didn't blunt them, the end boards did. Ironically, the Islanders were the victims of Fuhr's brilliance this time, after beating Edmonton in the opener a year ago on a shutout by Billy Smith. Game 2 began with as much action as kids bring to table hockey. In the very first minute, Brian Trottier did what the Islanders couldn't do in 60 minutes 2 nights earlier. He put the puck past Fuhr. Did it with his skate. However, there was little doubt that the puck deflected in because of Trottier's normal motion, and the Islanders had a 1-goal lead. Fuhr was still perfect at grabbing or stopping puck shot by sticks, however. He stopped Trottier here, and he showed cat-like reflexes to turn aside Clark Gillies' scoring chance. However, the Islanders just kept coming, and before 6 minutes had elapsed, Greg Gilbert freed himself from a traffic jam to flip in New York's second goal. A rooftop angle provides the best glimpse of the Gilbert goal. Oilers reached the scoreboard shortly after a face-off and a shot by Randy Gregg. But before the first period ended, Gillies began a memorable night for him with some strong forechecking that led to a goal that turned Game 2 into a rout. Al Arbor and the Islanders had things their own way from that point on. Trottier was getting all the breaks from skate blades on this night as he scored his second goal, taking full advantage of a pass that went quickly from referee Brian Lewis's skate to his stick. After that, the night belonged to Gillies. With Glenn Anderson serving a penalty for high-sticking Billy Smith, Gillies counted his second goal, granting Fuhr no chance after a thrust by Potvin. In the third period, Gillies registered another power play goal made to look easy. And so he completed his hat trick. The first pass went from Gord Dineen to Paul Booth at a game apiece. The teams traveled to Edmonton for the next 3 games, the first of which would be handled by referee Dave Newell. Though neither he nor anybody else knew it at the time, this was to be the pivotal game of the series. Mark Messier's check of Ken Morrow brought the first big cheer from the Edmonton fans, but the Islanders got the first goal. And again it was Gillies, with his 11th of the playoffs. He had only 12 during the regular season. Then came 2 chances for the Islanders to take a 2-goal lead. Pat LaFontaine broke in alone, but decided to pass instead of shooting, and Fuhr was quick to anticipate that. Then came a great save by Fuhr on John Tonelli's breakaway. Thanks to Fuhr's brilliance, the Oilers were able to get even on Kevin Lowe's goal. Lowe drew Smith out of the net for his third goal of the playoffs. The 1-1 tie was broken in the second period by, guess who? Gillies, as he matched his regular season total with a quick wrist shot that completed his give-and-go play with Trottier. At this point, the Islanders had outscored Edmonton in the series 8-3. But some 6 minutes later, the play that will be remembered above all others gave a shot in the arm to the Oilers. Messier took charge with the puck and turned the series in Edmonton's favor. The undressing of defenseman Dineen was followed by a perfect shot to the short side. Meanwhile, Edmonton was beginning to suffer physically. Dave Hunter was knocked out of further action along the boards. And Grant Fuhr became a casualty on the wrong end of Pat Hughes' board check of Pat LaFontaine. But then came the critical 19-second span late in the second period that produced the ultimate turning point of the game and the series. At the 19:12 mark, Glenn Anderson gave the Oilers their first lead since Game 1. Anderson's sixth goal of the playoffs was the result of some perseverance by Gretzky behind the net. As number 99 succeeded in poking the puck loose from Potvin, the play began with Anderson's pass to Charlie Huddy and ended with Anderson's key goal. Just 19 seconds later, the Oilers stunned the Islanders with another goal. Paul Coffey's alertness to jump to his own rebound brought a 4-2 lead, just when the Islanders were ready to take a tie score to the intermission. This swing and miss by Billy Smith foretold his third period story. The dominating Mark Messier added to his Conn Smythe Trophy credentials with his second goal of the game. Edmonton checkers turned scorers again, as Dave Lumley helped with Kevin McClellan's second goal of the final. At 6-2, Al Arbor took Billy Smith out of the game and put Roland Melanson into the Islander net. Roley, the goalie, was greeted by Dave Semenko's goal. Billy Smith and the New York Islanders could only watch and wonder what had happened. The Oilers skated out for Game 4 with Andy Moog as their starting goaltender, the first true indication of the extent of Fuhr's injury. But nothing could alter the confidence shown by Glenn Sather in the Edmonton fans. And the biggest reason for a cheer came in the game's second minute. Gretzky's breakaway produced his first ever Stanley Cup Final goal, and the Oilers were off and running. Willie Lindstrom made it 2-0 at the 3:22 mark of the opening period. The Islanders replied with a nice effort by Greg Gilbert and goal-getter Brent Sutter. But it was left to Mark Messier to apply another crushing blow to the champions. His goal late in the first period seemed to demoralize New York, and the Edmonton crowd sensed the Isles were fading. Oilers put them away with 3 straight second-period goals. Lindstrom's second was helped by Messier and Coffey. Pat Conacher, replacement for the injured Dave Hunter, scored a goal that he'll never forget. And then it was Andy Moog's turn to prevent one. He waited out Islander rookie LaFontaine and gave him nothing to shoot at. And as so often happens, a close call at one end was followed by a goal at the other. Coffey scored for a 6-1 Edmonton advance. Butch Goring's name was added to a list of Andy Moog's victims. But the Islanders did get one back before the period ended. Flatley, one of New York's very best playoff performers, counted his 9th goal on a deflection of Gilly's shot. Gretzky closed out the scoring with the only third-period goal reminiscent of Kevin Lowe's marker in Game 3. And it was sinking fast. Prior to Game 5, the Oilers fans wanted nothing less than the Stanley Cup then and there. Gretzky put the dream 2 large steps closer to reality with a pair of first-period goals. Once more, he was successful in a breakaway. And then he took a pass from Jari Kurri to spell the end of Billy Smith. Al Arbor again tried Melanson to change the fortunes of his tired team. But early in the second period, Ken Linsman connected for a 3-0 Edmonton lead. Then on a power play, deliberately and confidently, the Oilers moved the puck around for Jari Kurri's goal and a commanding 4-0 lead. The third period wasn't the cakewalk to glory the Oilers might have hoped for. Pat LaFontaine directed the Islanders' last gasp with suddenness in the opening minute. He scored at the 13-second mark. And he connected again at 35 seconds, deflecting a shot by Clark Gillies. Suddenly, Glenn Sather had reason to look and confirm that a lot of time remained. But Andy Moog held firm, and the Islanders' last real hope went out the window this way. With less than 4 minutes to go, they came close to a third goal. But Flatley was called for dumping Moog in the crease. A penalty with 3 minutes left made it obvious the Islanders' reign had ended after 4 years, and Arbor seemed to know it.
20 seconds to play. Islanders fight for it on the boards. Right in front of Concher down here. Taking that goal!
The 5-year plan of Oiler owner Peter Pocklington was right on target. Messier was honored as the outstanding performer of the playoffs, Conn Smythe winner, and he couldn't hide his joy. Wayne Gretzky accepted the Stanley Cup from NHL President John Ziegler, and he made it obvious he had never been happier. Edmonton turned out to greet its heroes, the architects Pocklington and Sather. Were followed by Mark Messier. His goal in Game 3 still etched in the mind